All right. Hello, Connected Through Strength and the new studio team, and welcome all of our new yoga teachers. Erin here, as you all know. I am going to be talking today about best practices for being an incredible yoga teacher and part of our community. So, I wanted to open up with a beautiful quote that I love by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I feel like that's a really great way of kicking off this short video on how we really like to differentiate ourselves and embrace our core values, our mission, and what we believe in as yoga teachers, as fitness professionals, and as part of the community. So, first of all, I just want to bring up the idea of a yoga teacher versus a yoga um, instructor. So, here at the new studio and CTS, we are yoga teachers. We are focused on not just teaching cookie cutter classes, we are focused instead on providing experiences for our students and our community. We are holding space for our students and we're providing opportunities. And we do that through designing safe and effective classes, being thoughtful of our playlist, being thoughtful of our words, demonstrating appropriately, always being kind, accessible, welcoming, and friendly, and so forth. And I believe in our fitness industry in 2026 and in the past few years, a lot of people have gone more the yoga instructor route, where they come in and they don't introduce themselves, they don't ask questions about injuries or conditions, and they just teach whatever they wrote on their paper and then they just leave. And thankfully, I know that none of us are like that. I know that we all care, we have big hearts, and we really put a lot of time, energy, and effort into creating beautiful classes that can really help people feel better, feel more like themselves, feel more connected to themselves, and more connected to the community, which is powerful. Remember, my friends, both studios are considered in our minds as third spaces for our students and clients. It's not their home and it's not their work. It's another place where they can feel more themselves, where they can feel understood and appreciated, where they can be challenged safely and effectively to grow and transform and evolve. So I like to kick off with that right away. And then I'm going to be going through some yoga teacher best practices, my friends. So, first and foremost, thank you all for teaching amazing classes at our studio. And thank you for being so reliable, so organized, so on top of things. We have an amazing team and we're so grateful. That being said, as a reminder, best practices, and this goes for everyone, including Kenny, myself, and Steph. So across the board, these are all very important. So, one, arriving early. All right, y'all. So, we want to make sure that each studio is opened at least 10, if not 15 or more minutes earlier. 10 is really cutting it close. It's really 15 minutes, unless there's obviously an issue or something, in which case, message us as always. But we want to be opening the studios at least 15 minutes early so that you can set up the temperature, set up the lighting, set up the fans, set the mood, and set up your music, okay? So, as a reminder, when you are teaching at our studios, you are in charge. You are our teacher, our representative, our ambassador, and so much more. So, take responsibility of the space, my friends. This is a huge pet peeve of mine and really important for setting the vibe of the class that you're teaching. And actually, that's number two. Always teach the class that you are supposed to be teaching based on the schedule and the description. So if you're ever subbing a class, make sure you are very comfortable subbing that style class. And if, for example, we have a sub opportunity and it's a class that you don't feel comfortable or ready teaching, say, for example, a yoga sculpt, always feel free to reach out offer to sub the class day and time, and we can always change it to a power yoga or a vinyasa and hatha flow. We are very happy to do that. But if you are showing up to sub my 45-minute vinyasa on Wednesday, it better be a 45-minute vinyasa class. That's very important. Providing our students what they are expecting in terms of style, because they are signing up for these classes for a reason. Always, number 3, arrive prepared. This means your playlist is fully done. You know what you're doing for your class sequence, and I'll come back to that. You have everything you need, and you're able to literally just put your blinders on for everything outside of the studio. Now, we know that everyone on this team has lives, which is wonderful. We want you to have other things going on. However, remember that this time and space when you are teaching is not for you. You are holding space for everyone else that came to your class. So if something's going on in your life and you're struggling, or you need someone to talk to, or you're just having a hard time focusing, call or text Kenny, Stephanie, or I. Let us know. We are here for you. And I am happy, so happy to jump on the phone really quickly and give you a few minutes so that you can vent or talk, or I can help with some advice or anything at all. But when you enter the studio as a teacher, you are not a student. That's a reminder. Always prepare the classroom and environment upon arrival. If you are teaching a yoga class, please be aware these classes should be at least 68, if not 70 or higher, depending on the class that you are teaching. If you have questions about that, let me know. And then take responsibility. If you're teaching an Ignite class or a bar class, and it's really hot outside and really hot in the room from a class before, or a yoga sculpt even, feel free to open the door for a few minutes, let it air out. That being said, the purifiers, this is huge, need to be on 24/7 when someone is in the space. And when you leave the studios, either one, the purifier must stay on for a minimum of at least 2 to 4 hours. We appreciate when you leave it on even longer, 6 or 8 hours. There are timers on the left side of each purifier. But if you are in the space, that purifier must be on, underlined. Okay? Very, very, very important. And that being said, if I come to your class and you're teaching a hatha class and the class is 62 degrees and the fans are on high, that is not okay. You are not setting the tone and the vibe and the mood for the class. Be thoughtful. We're all adults. We all have homes. Take responsibility for the space. Set up once you get there. Okay, moving on. Consistently design intelligent, thoughtful, creative, and effective classes. With a little caveat, this is what I talked about earlier. In our studio, we are teaching to the middle. So we're teaching to not the most advanced and not necessarily the most beginner, unless you're hosting, obviously, a class that's for advanced or beginner. We're teaching to the middle area. And we want to make sure that when we come into class, we have a plan in place. We have some ideas of what we're teaching. Maybe it's even fully written down. That being said, we are also a thoughtful teacher when it comes to noticing the class and their energy levels and so forth. So for example, if you're cueing everyone to be in a 3-legged downward dog and everyone's in child's pose, you should probably cue child's pose. So just as a reminder, you want to make sure that you're always being really thoughtful about reading the energy of the room, still staying in line with the style of class. But even if you're teaching a vinyasa or a power yoga, child's pose is a wonderful pause, a great time to grab water, towel off, and so forth. But making sure that you're reading the room and modifying as needed. Also, if, for example, it's the holiday season and everyone has clearly really, really low energy, and you're teaching maybe a hatha vinyasa, maybe you start with a little 5 or 6 minutes of gentle yoga and you give them a little bit longer of a shavasana at the end. You can make it so that you're still providing the style class. However, you're still reading the room and providing what the students in front of you need, not just the students that you were thinking about when you were making your playlist and your plan. jumping around a little. I apologize. These are in a funny order. Number 7, let go of distractions. Silence your phone. Airplane mode. We do not allow our teachers to be on their phones, and thankfully, you aren't like that. So I appreciate that. Thank you. But that's not the industry standard. So making sure that we silence our phones, we are not on our phones other than regarding the playlist or checking in our students. We are as present as possible while teaching. Like I said, if you need to talk before class, let me know. But you can tell when a teacher is not in the zone, when a teacher is being distracted by external situations. So making sure that you are fully in the class, that you are immersing yourself in that experience so that you can be the best teacher you can be. And that being said, if you're struggling, if it's you need a mental health day or something just happened or you're not feeling well, message us as much in advance as possible and we will try to also find you a sub. Sometimes you just need a day off and we understand that and we're here for you. We care about you as individuals. Stay on your mat mentally and energetically. So staying in the flow. This is really important to make sure that also you're keeping in line with pace, breath, and your plan and sequence. So while this goes hand in hand with the next one, we do not rely on other students to demonstrate yoga poses. So while a good yoga teacher is interacting with the entire room, if we're teaching to the middle and we're teaching to people who don't necessarily know what a warrior 2 looks like right off the bat, we want to make sure that we are showing these poses. Now, obviously, if you have some type of injury or condition or something's going on, which makes it hard to teach, you're not waiting until the last minute. You're going to message me ahead of time and we're going to come up with a plan. That's totally okay. It happens. I sometimes have back issues and it makes it hard for me to show all the poses, but I figure out a way to make it work. So that being said, you are showing most of the poses so that you are also working with all types of learners, because some people don't learn based off of auditory cueing. They're going to learn based off of watching you. And if you're not doing the class, they're going to be watching other students. And we don't want to rely on other students because it's their time, it's their space, it's their class. And if they don't want to be in a warrior 2 and they want to be in child's pose, that's okay. We shouldn't rely on them. Okay, so that means most of the time at CTS in the new studio, you are part of the flow. You are demonstrating, you are keeping it going. You are thoughtful of breath, pace, and sequence. This is the next one. So in terms of breath and pace, you want to make sure that if you do 5 breaths in warrior 1 on the right side, you do 5 breaths in warrior 2 on the left side. This seems straightforward enough. However, I feel like sometimes it can get forgotten about in the moment. So making sure you're very, very thoughtful and on your mat in the flow so that your pacing is accurate on both sides and that you're even. Okay, moving on. Understanding your students and studio community. So when you arrive at the studio, you are 15 minutes early. You are going to set up the space. So the lights, the fans, the temperature, your music, all of that. So that way when students walk in the door, you are checking them in on your phone and you are introducing yourself to every single student. Hi, I'm Erin. Thank you so much for coming to the studio today. Then you are asking questions. Any injuries or conditions? If they do have injuries and conditions, ask smart follow-up questions. If there's anything going on in particular, they just had a baby, they just came out of surgery, you are asking the follow-up question, are you cleared to be here? That's very important, my friends, okay? So if they say I had surgery 4 weeks ago, you say, oh, are you cleared by a doctor to be here? We want to make sure that everyone is safe in the classroom. Then if they say, oh, I'm totally fine, I did physical therapy, I just have some ongoing lingering knee pain, it's not very bad. That's when you, as an amazing yoga teacher who cares, are going to say, awesome, I'm so happy you're here. Here's some suggestions for making this class even better for you and your body in this moment. Maybe you give them an extra mat. Maybe you make sure that they have blocks and a strap. Maybe you give them an extra towel to use under their knee. All of these are options, but you want to have these conversations with every single student, not just new students either. So, for example, hi Julia, welcome back to the studio. How was your weekend? How are you feeling today? Any new aches or pains? Anything I should know? Every single student. That being said, some students arrive late to class, which is okay. So we allow students to arrive approximately 2 to 5 minutes after class started. Thoughtfully, as a teacher, you know how many people are signed up. So you make sure that the space has room for that person. And then obviously, if they don't show up, everybody can shift when they are in their first table or down dog or whatever. But if you know you have 10 people signed up, one person is missing, you better have room for that one person. Because especially with 2 studios, there's a chance they went to the wrong studio. And based in Dorchester, maybe they couldn't find parking. We let students in. However, that being said, if you are teaching a class and a student is arriving 20-ish minutes late, that is a time you might say to that student, I'm so sorry, we're so far along. It's not safe for you to join any longer. But that really shouldn't, one, be happening. And two, if that person pushes back and says, I really want to be here, let them in. Never force someone to leave. That is totally against our values. We want people to come. We are their third space and we are honored for that. I get fiery, you guys. Okay, continuing. So, understanding your students and your community. We're talking to every single person. We're introducing ourselves. We're checking in with students that have come in the past that we know. We're making sure that everyone has everything they need. Please, oh please, encourage everyone to have props. In yoga classes, 2 blocks and 1 strap and a towel. Just encourage it across the board, because even if they don't need it, at least they have it, because most of the time they're going to need it. So that moves on to the next one. Also, make sure you are cueing props and you are demonstrating with props. So runner's lunge, 2 blocks on each side of the foot, for example. Standing split, use blocks. Half moon, use blocks. Make sure that you're demonstrating, because remember, the students are going to do what you do. So if you're saying, hey, everyone can do tricep push-ups on their knees, and you're up there doing them off your knees, guess what most people are going to do? Off their knees. So remember, the class is not for you, my friends. You are the teacher, you're not the student. So make sure that if you're demonstrating yogi push-ups, tricep push-ups, do them on your knees. Use the props as necessary and as beneficial. Whew, okay. We already talked about all of this. Okay. So, going back to if somebody is late, for example, being thoughtful of everyone's space, energy, and props. So, as the teacher, you are in charge of setting up the classroom, and that doesn't end with just the playlist, the lights, the music, the fans. That is also helping students know where they go in the classroom and helping encourage students to move if they need to move. So, for example, our new studio, we can fit 15 people if everyone lines up their mat, and the blue little piece of tape is in the center front of their mat. All right, everybody? So say you have 10 people signed up for class, or even 7. Tell everybody to line up around a blue sticker. And then once everyone's arrived, then they can stagger a bit more. They can have more room. But the worst thing I see in studios, which drives me nuts, bad practice, is when students come in and other students won't move for them and the teacher does nothing. That is unacceptable. That student signed up and is there for that class. They paid for that class. They have every right to a good spot. And it might not necessarily be the spot they love if they came a little later, but they deserve space. And it is your responsibility to make sure they have it. So that being said, lining up the mats on the blue, and in the OG, the original Studio 107 Savin Hill, we can only fit 2 in the back, 3 in the front, 3 in the middle, 4 in the front. So tell people that. And then if there's 2 people taking up the entire front row, ask them nicely and politely to move. That is part of your job as a yoga teacher, my friends. Whew. Okay, continuing. We're almost done. This is fantastic. So we want to make sure that we're thoughtful of space and energy. Also be thoughtful when you're walking around the studio. Please be careful. We don't want you falling on props. Stay present through the very end of class. So staying in the flow, as we talked about earlier. But this means that if you're offering Shavasana, and I'll come to hands-on in a second, and you're not offering hands-on, guess what you're doing? You're enjoying Shavasana. You're meditating for the 3 to 5 minutes, whatever it is. I don't think this is a problem in our studio, but it really breaks my heart when I open my eyes in Shavasana for whatever reason and the teacher's up there on their phone. Or you can hear the dinging because they're sending text messages. That is a no-go. So making sure that we are staying in the moment with our students. And that being said, I should have said this earlier, students also should not have their phones, and their phones should be on Do Not Disturb in the cubbies. If they want to have their phones near them, face down, never videotaping themselves, nothing like that. Okay. Hands-on. I don't want to skip ahead too much. Hands-on. We are a studio that believes in hands-on. Why? Because it's an important part of our yoga practice. It's an important part of our community. And honestly, it helps us connect and provide even more support to our students. That being said, if you have any issues with hands-on for any reason, talk to me directly. Have a conversation. That's totally fine. We're not going to force you to provide hands-on. Also, if you're not feeling well for some day, your back hurts, you might have a little bit of a sniffle, whatever it is, don't give hands-on. However, we encourage and we ask all yoga teachers to provide hands-on at least once in every class. If you have struggles with this, providing hands-on during Shavasana is the best idea. Gentle shoulder rub, forehead release, anything like that totally works. However, a few little best practices that are totally necessary. 1, if you touch one person, you touch everybody. So if you give someone back rubs in child's pose, you are then making sure that you give everybody one hands-on during the yoga flow. If you give one person head rubs in Shavasana, you give everybody some type of hands-on during Shavasana. End of story. You touch one, you touch them all. Obviously, this goes with the fact that you've already asked for consent. I should have said that first, but I'm saying it now. So at the beginning of class, while everybody is in a pose that they are eyes closed, either seated, child's pose, laying on their belly, laying on their back, you ask for consent. And the way we ask at our studio is, today I may be providing hands-on during class. If you do not want me to touch you for any reason, please raise your hand now and I will respect your space. And then you say, thank you, everybody. Even if nobody raised their hand, which is normally what happens. But if someone raises their hand, obviously don't touch them. That is how we say it at this studio. If you want to say it a different way, talk to me first. But we are saying, all right, everybody, I may be giving hands-on during this class. If for any reason you do not want hands-on, just raise one hand now and I will respect your space. Thank you. Beautiful, everybody. Okay, so if you touch one, you touch them all. If you touch one in the flow, all in the flow. Touch one in Shavasana, all in the Shavasana. If you don't want to touch people, talk to me directly. Whew. All right. Now, let's finish this up. So, one last thing about hands-on. We are not giving too much attention to any one student. We are fair. That is one of the ways we are an amazing yoga teacher in this studio. So for example, even if somebody is new and they keep messing up or struggling or falling behind, only go over to them once or maybe twice. You are not giving them 10 hands-on in one class and everybody else one hands-on. You are not just focusing on that one person. Why? Because one, they probably don't want you to. They are probably like, leave me alone after so many touches. Two, it can make them feel unwelcome, like they don't know what they're doing and they're um, a charity case, for example. Three, it can also make all the other students feel frustrated that you're not giving them as much attention, energy, and hands on. So, if somebody is struggling with a pose, help them once. And if somebody says they love what they're doing and it feels good and they have no issues with it, and you think that for some reason they should change the pose, leave them alone. If they are in pigeon pose and their knee looks weird, go over, help them. If they say they're happy as they are, leave them alone because they're an adult. They can figure it out. And maybe that's their way of doing pigeon pose. Whew, I'm really fiery about this stuff, you guys. Okay, so going back to ending. So we've given everyone hands on. Shavasana is important. In a class at our studios, we are giving everyone 2 to 5-ish minutes at the beginning of class, and then 3 to 7 minutes at the end of class. I'm going to say that again. At the beginning, 2 to 5 minutes of meditation, breath work, coming into themselves, coming into the moment. At the end of class, 3 to 7 minutes is our traditional Shavasana. So if I'm coming to your class and you're starting right away with movement and no pause, not okay. Same with at the end. If I come to your 60-minute class and Shavasana is 2 minutes, not okay. 2 to 5 for the beginning, 3 to 7 for the end. And you are in the moment the whole time. That being said, at the end of class, please end with something, some type of closing. It doesn't have to be anything like mine, whatever is right for you, but have a clear, distinct closing. And thank everybody for sharing their practice, their time, their energy with you. End on time and start on time. We allow for a 2-minute buffer. If you start 2 minutes late, you can end 2 minutes late, but you're not starting more than 2 minutes late. If you are starting 5 minutes late, that is not okay. Even 3 minutes, not okay. We are not going more than 2 minutes over as well. So you have a 2-minute buffer. So that being said, if say you have 7 people signed up for your class and only 3 people have arrived and you're supposed to start, give those 4 minutes, 4 people 1 or so minutes, 1 or 2, that's it. And then start the class. Same with the ending. If you're supposed to end at 6:30 p.m., you're ending at either 6:30, 6:31, or 6:32 max. All right, at the end of class, make sure you thank every student genuinely. Make sure you check in with students, especially new ones. See how everyone's feeling. Ask for feedback. Ask for song requests, and so forth. Also, make sure you are sharing yoga studio announcements if we have upcoming events or challenges or anything going on. Make sure you are sharing that with your students. And then finally, make sure you close out your class in mind body. If there's any questions or issues, you are messaging Erin, Kenny, and Steph immediately. So if someone doesn't show up, if someone late canceled, if someone left early, if somebody was sick in class or anything, always let us know. We care and we need to know this information. Mind body should have a little check mark next to every person unless you let us know. And then finally, a couple best practices for yoga teachers. Make sure that you're still embracing the yoga principles as you pack up the class. So nonviolence, respect, truthfulness, all of that, to make sure that you are maintaining a studio and yoga vibe from the beginning of class until the very end when people leave. You are still holding space for all of those people that just came to your class. That being said, as a few reminders, as a yoga teacher, it's also important to take other classes. Come to my class, come to Megan and Tatiana and Abby, come to all of the classes so that you can, 1, practice at our studio, 2, get to know other teachers, 3, get to know other students. Also, make sure that you reach out anytime with any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, feedback for us. Please be proactive and let us know if there's ways that we can make your lives and your teaching experiences better. Because while you are holding space for your students and clients, we are also focused on holding space and providing opportunity for all of you. We care so much. I hope after 5 years that's obvious, but I'll say it. We care about each and every one of you. We care about our entire community, and we couldn't be here without you. So thank you. That being said, at the end of all these videos, to make sure that you watched it to the very end, I have a secret word. Today's secret word is going to be hippopotamus because it's fun and different, or just hippo. Thank you for watching these best practices, for being part of our community. If you need anything, let us know, and have a great day. Namaste, my friends.